Hey guys, this is Keylime again with another video. This is going to be a beginner's guide, so people just picking up the game, whether that's on the Switch or just getting it for the other platforms, this will be something that's useful for you to better understand what it is you're supposed to do when you're first starting out the game. So when you first start up the game, you're going to see all of these kingdoms here. Well, actually, you'll probably just see 2 or 3. What you're wanting to be doing is unlocking all of the kingdoms. That's your first goal when you first get the game. So when you go into a kingdom, you'll see these quests. You want to be doing these quests because by completing these quests, you're going to be getting troops. As a result of completing the quest, you might get a weapon, you might unlock a class. You want to be doing these quests. That's the first thing that you want to be doing. Once you complete all 30 of them, you can then move on to the next one. Every single time you unlock a kingdom, you'll be able to do the quest line and then move on to the next one. Just by unlocking the kingdom, you'll get access to others, but you want to complete all the quests first and then move on. So when you're first starting the game, this is what you want to be doing, is these quests, and then just completing all the quests for all the kingdoms until you unlock all 36 of these. That's your first goal. That's going to get you a good amount of troops, some weapons, the classes. That's a really good base to start from. So that's your goal. You'll start getting resources just from doing that. The next goal that you want to be doing once you've unlocked all of these kingdoms is to get the kingdoms up to level 10. So you'll see that each of these has a number underneath them. When you're first starting, it's only level 1. What you want to be doing there is spending the gold that you do have. Here, there'll be an option to upgrade these in level. The main reason you want to be doing this is because you get these skill bonuses. So by spending all the gold, I believe it takes about 120,000 gold, potentially a little more, to get a kingdom from 1 all the way to 10. The reason you want to be doing this is because of these skill bonuses. So if I get this kingdom all the way up to level 10, I'm going to get a bonus health as a result. You'll see mine says 2, yours will say 1. I'm getting this for another reason, which I'll explain in some other video. But once you get a kingdom up to level 10, then you'll get to this skill bonus, and that will apply to every single troop in your lineup. So by getting this kingdom to 10, every single troop in my lineup is getting an extra health, which is extremely great. That is really what you want to be doing to get your troop potential as high as it possibly can. That will allow you to do harder things. Initially, like dungeons or pet battles, those will require stronger troops, and the way you get those stronger troops is by getting these skill bonuses. So once you unlock all of your kingdoms, once you do all the quests for all of your kingdoms, the next thing you want to be doing is getting all of your kingdoms to level 10. So that's going to require a lot of gold, as I mentioned before. So how do you go about getting that gold? The best way to go about getting that gold is PvP. So in PvP, when you jump into the menu, you'll see that you're given 3 different options. This is the easiest fight always, the leftmost. This is the hardest fight that you'll have access to, which is the rightmost, and this is like a middle level difficulty. This will always scale to your level, so these team ratings that you'll see here will always adjust to match about what you are. So this first level is something that you should be able to beat pretty easily. So this is going to be what you want to do once you've unlocked all of your kingdoms, is to jump into here and start playing these a lot to get your gold. And then once you get your gold, you upgrade a kingdom to level 10, and then you move on to the next one. I definitely do not recommend getting like this kingdom to 5, this kingdom to 3, this kingdom to 2, this kingdom to 7. That's kind of just spreading your gold around without really getting any benefit. You really only get the main benefit by getting it to 10. So really focus on getting your one kingdom to 10, and then move on to the next one, and then get that one to 10, etc. That's going to be a lot of time to just do that because of the number of kingdoms that there are. So spend your time unlocking all of the kingdoms, doing all of the quests, and then getting all these up to level 10. Along the way, you're going to level up a lot. You're going to get a decent amount of resources. That's going to be the base state. Once you get all of this completed, you're going to be in a really good spot. All of your troops will be about as strong as they can be. You'll have a decent number of troops from playing that much. That's really going to be what your early game looks like, is just doing this. From there, you're going to have to wonder, well, what the heck are all these different resources that I'm getting? I see I have gold, I have glory, I have souls, I have gems. There's a bunch of others. What the heck are those used for? So gold we already covered in some capacity. So gold is what you're spending mostly on just leveling your kingdoms. Once all of your kingdoms are leveled all the way up, What you can use this gold for then is for things called guild tasks. So when you join a guild, you have an option in here for tasks. You'll have an option to donate gold into your guild, and then you have a chance of getting cool stuff. When your guild doesn't quite have all of your tasks completed, you'll see that this actually looks like a bunch of columns with tasks within them. So you can donate gold to individual tasks, and you can get various perks or rewards for doing that. So initially when you get your gold, you're using it just for upgrading your kingdoms. Then once you get all of your kingdoms to level 10, your gold is pretty much exclusively used for guild tasks at that point. So that covers gold. Glory is this next one, which are these wings. You get these glory by doing these PvP fights, as I mentioned, so you'll see that each of them comes with a glory reward associated with them. What you're using your glory rewards for are really for these chests. So there's these things called glory chests, and you can open them up based on the amount of glory that you have. The nice thing about these glory chests is that at worst you're going to get a rare troop, but at best you can potentially get a mythic troop. So early on, if you're doing your PvP grinding to get gold, you'll get a decent amount of glory, and then you can turn that glory into potentially very good troops. So that's really what your glory is used for. You'll see that within the shop there's also a glory rewards section. All of the items contained in here will actually be glory oriented. I never recommend spending glory on souls, and I definitely don't recommend getting them on treasure maps. You'll get both of these just by playing the game, and glory is potentially a lot more useful elsewhere, so I would never recommend getting these. These troops are usually pretty interesting. Sometimes the troops are very good, sometimes they're pretty mediocre, but at least when you're spending them on this troop specifically, it comes with other stuff. So you're getting trait stones which both apply to this specific troop or just get added to your pool in general. You'll see that you also get some gold and some keys. You're not really doing this for the gold or the keys, it's the trait stones that are the most interesting, most notably this arcane trait stone. If the troop costs 300, you'll always only get one, but if this troop costs 400, you'll get two. So this becomes a really good way of getting a very specific type of trait stone. So between the glory chests and this glory rewards section, that's really what you're spending your glory on. There's not really anything else that you're going to be using glory for. So when it comes to glory, that's what glory is actually used for. This next thing is souls. So what souls is used for is actually upgrading your troops and levels. So as you're amassing troops, what you'll see, if I find one that isn't level 20 here, this guy. Levels are something that requires souls to go up. So once you're into your upgrade menu here for your troop, you can see that if I spend souls, I can get them to a higher level. And what you want to be doing to level up your troops, you'll see that as you choose the amount of levels that they go up, or as you level them up, their stats will increase as a result, which will make them deal more damage, be able to take more damage, have their spells do more damage, or have greater effects, and have more life. So leveling up your troops is really what you want to be using your souls for. Early on when you're first starting, souls are pretty hard to come by. So I do not recommend just trying to casually spend your souls on whatever you can. Save your souls for troops that you really like or are more rare, and then use your souls to level them up. And then otherwise save your souls because, again, early on souls are pretty hard to come by. There's not really any way early on in the game to farm souls. You'll get souls every time you kill a troop, you get one soul. You also get soul bonuses. Sometimes there's gnomes that'll pop up that you'll get a big bucket of souls for killing. But for the most part, your souls are not something that you're really going to be able to level up. I will mention that if you do challenges, which will unlock once you complete all of your quests, you can get bonus souls by doing these. However, I would probably recommend staying away from these. There's something later on in the game that you'll care about. There's a weapon that takes 1 million souls, actually 1.3 million souls, to unlock. And when you get a soul farming team specifically, you'd want to drill through all of these challenges then. So for now, I would worry a lot more about souls being used just for your primary troops and using them only on those cool troops that you get and not just casually on whatever troop you happen to be using at the time. Really be diligent about where you spend these souls. The next that you'll find is these gems. So gems are really like Gems of War's luxury resource. You can use them to like buy things during events, or you can use them to just get stuff. in chests, for instance. So if I didn't have gem keys here, you could potentially spend gems to get keys, to open chests, I should say. Same thing with events, same thing with VIP. So gems are used to open up chests if you want. I really recommend not doing that. Gems should primarily be used for events. So when you're looking at events, for guild events most recently, there's a raid boss. If I jump into the raid boss into the shop, you'll see that there's these tiers that are offered that cost gems to get. I really recommend trying, if you can, to get your gems used up to the level where you get some kind of weapon or some kind of troop. This will be most effective for the event that's going on. The weapon is usually very specific to that event, like being the most useful for that event, or the troop will be very specific for that event. So if you're trying to be productive during an event for your guild, this is the level that you want to get up to, wherever you're getting the troop or getting the weapon. But it costs gems to get there. So this is like the easiest place to be spending gems and the most beneficial place to be spending your gems. So you're probably wondering, how do I get gems? Well, fortunately I happened to get a tribute as we were sitting here. So if you jump into your tribute, this happens every hour. So every hour when you open up the game, you'll see that you get a tribute. So I had 8 tributes this time around, which for me is pretty low, but for just starting out, that's actually very good. So for every tribute that you get, you'll be getting a gem after the first one. So if I got 20 tributes, I'd be getting 19 gems. This is really going to be your gem resource generator. So every hour, as long as you're collecting your tributes, this will be how you get your actual gems. Just by doing that every single hour, you'll slowly build this up. So that's the way that you want to be getting your gems. And again, since gems are pretty precious early on, try and be saving them for those event weapons or those event troops. That's the best way to be spending your gems. And that's mostly what gems are used for. Aside from that, they're used as like a shortcut type item. Like if you go into the shop and you look in here, you can spend gems to get gold. This is the worst. Definitely never spend any of these unless you're just really rich and you spent a lot of gems. Never recommend any of these. 300 gems for 75,000 gold is a very bad deal. You can much more easily get 75,000 gold just by playing like maybe 15 or so PvP fights. So definitely never spend gems on any of this stuff if you can avoid it. So from there, the next resource that I'll talk about are trait stones. So you've probably noticed that when you have your troops and you go to upgrade them, they have these traits, and these traits cost these trait stones. So every single one of these things pictured is a trait stone. As you go down the list here, they get progressively rarer. So when you're trying to unlock your traits, you're going to need these trait stones, and it's telling you specifically what kind you need. One nice thing that the game does do is if you're looking for this specific trait stone, you might not have any idea how I go about getting it, but if you click it, it'll tell you that if you go to this kingdom specifically, and you can click it, and you do the explore mode, this is where you go to get trait stones. The only arcane trait stone that I'll get is exactly the one that I need. So whenever you're farming for trait stones, you can target it very specifically for the type that you want just by finding a troop that needs that arcane trait stone and then clicking the kingdom that it tells you to go get it. And then whenever I do explore fights in here, I can get my trait stones specific for that one troop. So that's really important. The next thing that I'll quickly cover are ingots. So your weapons, when you go to upgrade them, require specific types of ingots. And I apologize for your eyes getting killed right now as I scroll around. These ingots here are used to upgrade weapons, and as you can imagine, common weapons require common ingots, mythic weapons require mythic ingots, etc. These ingots are things that you get just by doing PvP. There's a chance you can get an ingot when that fight is completed. Every day when you log in, you might be getting some ingots. And the other way that you're going to be getting ingots is actually in the Underworld. So this is the Overworld section up here, but if you click on this Crystara, you get taken to the Underworld. And then what you do is, same type of deal as the Overworld, there's quests, but then you get access to these delves. So when you go into a delve, you can see that you can pick the level. The lowest level will be easier, this will be medium, this will be harder. But this goes up in difficulty every single time you pick this. So if this was 10, 20, 30, and I picked this 30 and beat it, this would then change to 20, 30, 40. So the lowest level difficulty is always going to scale based on how many of these you can complete. So as you can tell, I've got this kingdom maxed, which means 500, which means I can't go any harder, but the easiest I can do is level 490. So just be careful when you start doing these. Those are kind of permanent. If you do 10 of these different fights and you get this up to level 100, the easiest you can do then is level 90. When you're farming for ingots early on, I strongly recommend keeping some of these Underworld Kingdoms at their base level, or as low of a level as you can consistently beat. So when you jump into your delve and you get your options, say you feel comfortable around level 40, once you get this to level 40, just stay here. Never pick here. You can pick this one if you want, but if you were comfortable at level 40, just keep playing at this level and don't make it any harder for yourself. The rewards that you get at the end are still very good. Leveling this up isn't going to dramatically make your rewards that much better, at least from the chests that you get at the end. So I recommend keeping it at a fairly low level early on, so that way you can just farm this every single day. You get 3 delves, so you can jump in there, do your 3 delves, and get your ingots at the end, which you then use to upgrade weapons. So when you jump into your weapon tab, you'll see when you go to upgrade weapon, since this is an ultra rare weapon, it required ultra rare ingots, and this total number of cost in here, let me jump into one that actually needs to be upgraded, like this one. It'll tell you how many ingots are required. Again, this is additive like the trait stones are, so if I wanted to buy this last trait on this weapon and all of the ones before it, I would just need to spend 45 ingots and I would get every single trait before it. If I bought this one for 1, then this one would only cost 2, etc. So this doesn't cost like 100 something ingots to get all the way up, it just costs a total of 45. The best thing I'll say about weapons here is that the earlier levels, you'll notice, are all stat bonuses. When you're first starting out the game, these stat bonuses are really dramatic. If your base attack is only a +5 or a +10 normally, and then you're getting an extra 1, 2, 2 here, that's going to really, really, really make your hero a lot stronger. So early on when you're first starting out, these weapon upgrades can be very, very helpful. And that covers ingots. And the last thing you'll need to worry about are these things called diamonds. So once you've unlocked all your kingdoms, one of those will actually unlock the dungeons. Dungeons are something where when you complete the fight, you'll get this reward of shards and diamonds. These diamonds are important to start building up early on because you can actually craft mythics. Every single week there's a pool of about 4 or 5 mythics that are available to you to actually create. The unfortunate thing is that it takes about 4,000 diamonds to make a mythic, and you can tell that you don't get a ton of diamonds from doing these fights. This is actually Sunday that I'm recording this video, and every Sunday this is actually higher than usual, so you'll actually be getting less diamonds than this normally. But if you do these every single day for every single week, it'll take you about a month to get a mythic. So every month, if you're very consistent about this, you can be getting yourself a mythic. The other thing you can potentially do with spending your gems is that there'll always be a gem bounty every day. It costs 50 gems, but from here you're getting another bonus of diamonds and shards. So that's another way to accelerate the amount of diamonds that you can actually get. On Sundays, I always recommend, at a minimum, completing your dungeons, but the gem bounty on Sundays is also a lot higher than usual. So if you're never going to do dungeons, at a minimum, do them on Sundays. That's the biggest benefit. When you're first starting out, these fights are going to feel pretty hard, if not impossible. Don't get discouraged. As you get better in the game, you increase your kingdom levels to get the stat bonuses. Eventually, you'll be able to actually beat these fights. Keep at it. Try it every day. If you fail like 5 times, let's just say, for this fight, maybe give up for that day and try again when you get stronger. But once you can start consistently beating these fights, it's really, really worth it. They are used in this Soul Forge area. So when you're first starting out, your Soul Forge will start at level 1, and it'll say you need to do, let's just say, 50 kills to level it up to level 2. So after you play the game for about 12-15 fights, you'll get those 50 kills. The button here will just say upgrade it for free, and that'll level it up to level 2, and then you might have to do 100 kills to get it up to level 3, and then maybe 200 kills to get it to level 4, etc. But make sure you jump into this menu and click this upgrade button whenever it's available. The game will not do it for you. You have to manually level this up. So if you killed 10,000 troops and this thing was still level 1, hitting this button is only going to upgrade it to level 2. So you have to make sure you jump in here and upgrade this thing every single time you have an opportunity to. But all the way at the end here, once it gets to level 9, level 10, now you can start to craft legendary troops or mythic troops. That's very important because, again, as I mentioned, every single week this list is going to change at the bottom here, and you're going to be able to actually make specific troops that you want. And this is the only way you can guarantee that you can get a mythic or get a legendary of your choice. So doing those dungeons that I mentioned before, it's extremely important that once you're able to start doing these fights, you actually do them every single day. But that kind of covers really what you're trying to do when you first start the game. Again, it's unlocking all of the kingdoms, it's doing all of the quests for all of the kingdoms, it's getting all the kingdoms to level 10 by doing PvP grinding, and then once you get all of these to level 10, then you're going to be in a really good spot where you've probably gotten some pretty good troops, some cool weapons, you've gotten your levels, you've unlocked all of the classes. That's going to get you at a really good starting point for the game. So that's a beginner's guide for Gems of War. I appreciate you guys sticking through this video if you stayed to the end. Feel free to let me know what other types of videos you'd like to see. Otherwise, this is Keylime signing off. Thanks, guys.